New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Global Focus Today. I am Reverend Dr. Sharri Johnson, your host, and today's guest was our very first guest a little over a year ago, and this is Reverend Jim Starke, but I got to tell you, he is unique. They're all unique. I know they're all unique, but this one is really unique because he thinks he's retired. He's not, but he thinks he is. Everybody knows it takes at least 3 tries for a minister to retire, and he's only on his first try. So please help me welcome Reverend Jim Starke of Beyond Spirit Education. Now, I have to talk about Beyond Spirit Education because it tickles me that you did that. Before you retired, your focus ministry was online education, and it was called Spirit Education. And so you retire. You start a spiritual circle and you call it Beyond Spirit Education. I mean, come on, how retired is that? So we're going to back up a little bit because I love the story of how you got here. And like many ministers, me among them, you did not start out in ministry as you're a young adult. You did all kinds of stuff beforehand and lived all over the world, including Puerto Rico, if I have that right. So tell us, how did you end up here? What was your path like to get to ministry?
Well, I started as a banker, then became a carpenter, left banking and became a carpenter and a contractor. And then that moved me ultimately to Puerto Rico, where I moved full time and was a carpenter and contractor there, which moved me into hot sauce manufacturing and
I'm sorry. Carpenter moves into hot sauce manufacturing.
Hey,
you skip a few steps in there?
When you're tired of working in the hot sun, you got to find something to do. And I was playing with computers at that point in time, so I sort of moved over to them and was making hot sauce on the side, and that turned into a business, which actually then turned me into computer development, website development, and for my hot sauces, and that eventually became a travel information website for the island of Vieques and Culebra in the Puerto Rican archipelago, and then moved the hot sauce business and my travel information website up to Florida, which was as far north as my wife would then go, or my then wife would go. And then she got into spirituality when we moved here in 1998. And I went kicking and screaming to the center with her after about 2 years. And the rest is history. I became a practitioner with her, and then we both, then I went on to ministerial school, and here I am. Trying to retire, but not doing a really good job at it.
And now I want you to talk about the thing you did to get ready before you decided to retire with the van and the traveling, and tell us about that. That van is amazing. Tell us about your minister van instead of minivan, your minister van.
My minister van. Well, that was that was my first focus ministry, was reaching out to rural communities where in the South, where there were centers, but a lot of the people were from up north, and the intention was to move around in my RV. I had a 35-foot RV at the time, to move around in the RV and help start groups in different parts of the country where people might go home and they don't have the like-minded group that they found here in Florida or Alabama or wherever, Georgia, wherever. And that I let that ministry go when my RV started to bite the big one, and moved into spirit education. Really, I'd been doing that with Nicole Merges and Gloria Diamond Connolly in their AHA education at the time. And when Nicole retired and moved into home office, into education there, I started spirit education I took over her practitioners, started spirit education, and moved into that. And then when COVID hit, I decided it was time to start thinking about doing something else. And I had been watching a lot of videos of van conversions, so I went out and spent far too much money on a van, a Chevy Express van, and turned it into a small home, a very small home. Has an office, it has a bedroom, it has cold running water, and a place to do your business, and a refrigerator. So it got everything a home, pretty much everything a home does. And I went out in a couple of times last year. I took a trip up to New England. I took a trip around Florida, and then I took a trip up to New England, and took about a month. Went up to New England and hung around with friends and my ex-wife and a bunch of minister friends along the way on the way to up to New England and on the way back, and then came back. And I haven't gone anywhere in it. I got involved in a relationship, and I haven't done anything since then. And now I'm considering doing it again.
Well, I think it's great, and you have to make sure Kansas City is one of the places you go.
Right.
It's a little farther than Arkansas, but it's more civilized. I say that out loud. I'm sorry. So are you still teaching classes online like you did?
No, I don't do any classes online, any online classes right now. It's not that I wouldn't consider it. I just, I guess I felt like I taught everything to the ministers that I needed to teach during COVID, and, for teaching online, how to use Zoom and how to use some of the different programs that help you teach online, and how to teach online, because we all know it's a different animal than teaching an
person
in-house class. Yeah. And everything seems to be, I didn't really teach certificated classes. I was leaving that to the ministers who had churches, and teaching chapters. I didn't really see a need for me to duplicate efforts, and they had larger groups to teach to anyways. And it's a little bit not an easy thing to draw people into a class when you're teaching, when you're completely online and especially affiliated with an organization, when there's hundreds of thought authors out there who are doing it for nothing or next to nothing, and direct competition, because they're all teaching the same thing that we teach. So just from a perspective, from a more a less spiritual perspective, or less religious perspective.
And what about your spirit circle?
I took over when I retired spirit education. I started a spiritual living circle, and then within weeks of my starting the spiritual living circle, a couple of my practitioners decided to take, well, they were going to have to find new homes anyways. They decided to take a year off. And the gentleman who led the group, Jack Llewellyn, asked me if I wanted to take over his spiritual living circle. And I said, sure. Saves me trying to round up a few people to talk to every other week. And so it's just, we meet every other week, or not every other week, first, third, and fifth Thursdays of the month. And I really should put something on my website so people can find out where I am. But I have been lacking in that. I seem to be retired as far as my website is concerned. I still do a little social media posting. I work with Charles Geddis's Mind Your Own Becoming as well, Focus Ministry as well. So I keep myself busy. I mean, it's not like I've gone into hiding or looking for that cave on the mountainside where I can sit and contemplate my navel for the rest of my life.
And are you doing guest speaking?
I have not. Well, besides you.
I actually meant on Sunday guest speaking.
And let me say, thank you for welcoming me on the show, Dr. Sharri. I wanted to say that.
Thank you.
I have not been doing any guest speaking. I haven't really felt I guess I'm more into teaching. I'm not really into the guest speaking. I mean, I could. I have no problem with it, but I don't know. I go to the Church of Barnes and Noble on Sundays.
I'm with you. I understand.
When
I go to Barnes and Noble, I have to leave somebody outside with my purse and a gun because it's a dangerous place for me. But I can understand going to the Church of Barnes and Noble. I had a student once who went to the Church of the White Dimpled Ball while his wife came to my church.
But I in the spiritual living circle, they've been using the articles from Science of Mind magazine and the backup questions that CSL has been offering. But I'm kind of tending to move away from that. It used to be the first Thursday was sharing an article from Science of Mind magazine, but not everybody in the group has a subscription to Science of Mind magazine or decided to keep a subscription to the magazine. And so I'm kind of moving away from that. The first week has always been just teaching, talking from the Science of Mind magazine, but then the second week Jack has been reading from the Science of Mind textbook, our Science of Mind textbook, and then opening it up for discussion all during the reading. And we got up to page like 285, and I kind of felt like we were getting into areas that weren't totally necessary for a group that's not steeped in the Science of Mind classes. So I went back to I just started reading from the introduction again, what it is, the way it works.
What do you do on the fifth Thursday? I love that you include the fifth Thursday.
We've only had one of those since I took it over. And what I did is I shared video. Tom Sandard passed away just the week before. And so I went back into my archives of audios from Asilomar, and I pulled out 2 Tom Sandard audios from Asilomar. And one of them was his, he had a talk one year on basically comparing the Wizard of Oz to Science of Mind. And I thought it was a great video, so I shared that one of the audios during during the group. We meet for an hour and a half, so there was plenty of time to have a good discussion on that and share 2 audios. So I did that, and I'd kind of like to continue to do that. Dennis Merritt Jones, people may not know that back when I was a practitioner in 2005, 2006, maybe even earlier than that, he had a TV show he had a TV channel on his along with the Simi Valley Center, and he interviewed all sorts of people in and out of Science of Mind. And I don't know if I can find those anymore, but I pirated every video he made for my own purposes, for my own self. I never put them up anywhere or tried to infringe on the copyright, but I thought they were very interesting, and I felt like they needed to be preserved. Yeah. So I've saved, if I haven't accidentally deleted them from one of my external hard drives, I've still got them floating around someplace.
So up at the top of your screen, there's a quote. Yeah, that one. Peace is the outpicturing of love. That is a beautiful quote. Where did it come from? Why is it there? What does it mean?
It comes from my signature. From love and peace, comma, in peace. And to me, I don't know, Jesus, Buddha, all those guys, they all said, love is everything. I mean, we talk about love is everything. And we talk about Science of Mind as love and law. The 2 basic ingredients are the love does the law allows the creation through love. Allows your life to create through love, whether it's good, bad, however we perceive it to be. And for me, the outpicturing of love, once you feel love within yourself, and that's the first place it has to be. To me, you can't love another without loving yourself first. And to me, I guess if I really wanted to get esoteric, I'm the only one that exists in my world. Everybody else is here to teach me something. And they're not, in the overall scheme of things, they may or may not be real. But for me to be a loving person is to want to see my world as a peaceful world. And I do see it as that. I see there's so much hate in the world. And I don't see myself as hating anyone. I don't think I've ever been able to hate. I'm disappointed in a lot of people. I get angry sometimes. But mostly it's disappointment that there's a lack of love, an obvious lack of love within themselves, that one needs to denigrate someone else. Or go ahead.
I had to ask because the very first contact that I had with you, the first time we met, was on December 31st in 2017, when I discovered I was living in 2 hours from everything Arkansas, and I did not want to miss for the first time since 1989 the World Healing Peace Meditation, the John Randolph Price Healing Meditation, and you were offering it online.
Wow.
And that was how I got connected with you, and eventually how I got connected with the Global Heart of Peace Initiative from CSL. So, sure. Peace is a big deal. In fact, there are a set of questions that I ask all my guests, and the first one is, how does what you do, which in most cases, because we're talking to focus ministers, in most cases is the same thing as how does who you are. contribute to, encourage, increase, unveil world peace. And there
you're asking me that.
And I'm asking you that.
I try to smile and say hi to everybody I meet in the street. And it may just be a hi and I keep on going. But I try to have a smile on my face for as many people as I can. And maybe that's the first time they've seen a smile referring to them for that day, or it could be that week. I mean, you don't know. And if it just a hi, how are you, uplifts someone, I think to me that's the beginning of peace. I think instead of yelling at people that you don't necessarily agree with their politics or their religion, and sitting down and talking with them makes so much more sense than not. I remember when I was in my RV, I was staying over in Fort Myers at an RV park over there, and one of the permanent residents of the RV park was a Jehovah's Witness. We had a fantastic conversation. Didn't agree on much, but we had a fantastic conversation, and we both left feeling good about ourselves. There wasn't any raised voices. There wasn't any disagreement. There wasn't any "you're going straight to hell." Of course, if you don't believe.
You know what I'm hearing, but you're not saying. So I'm gonna make sure I'm hearing what I think I'm hearing. Is not so much about talking to people, but it's about listening to them.
Absolutely.
To be open to hear what they have to say. You don't have to agree with them. But if you just give people a chance to tell you what they believe and they feel heard, that has to reduce the conflict level. It has to.
Yes.
It has to.
Absolutely.
And so here's my next question. And it sounds like the same question, but it's not. I usually ask this one first, but since you had the motto, I asked you the other one first. And this one is, how does your ministry, how does who you are and what you do encourage, enhance, advance, pick your own verb, conscious evolution?
Well, good one.
That's what most people say first. Wow.
Well, it's just like what you said. I mean, you can't evolve you can't evolve in a vacuum. And if you're in conversation with someone, whether you're in agreement, total agreement or not, or even agree to disagree, at least what you've done is you've listened to them, number one, and you've heard where they are in the moment. And if they get a chance to listen to you and see a different perspective, I think that just sort of gives everyone a chance to grow. And conscious evolution is all about growth.
So could you give us an example?
Hell. Excuse me.
No, hell is definitely not part of the equation.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I tend to think out loud sometimes.
I think most of us tend to think out loud. That's why I thought an example might be possible. Maybe an example of how you experienced conscious evolution.
I guess just by I experienced conscious evolution just by listening to people and giving people a chance to change my mind or change my thoughts allow me to peacefully hear them, hear their perspective, and if they grow, fine. If I can't help but grow by listening to them and by oh, you wanted an example. Oh, a physical example.
Would you like me to give you one and that'll help you figure it out?
You could try.
Okay. A few weeks ago, I went to the Parliament of World Religions. And I went to a session that was entitled The Vegan Museum, because I was fascinated by the idea of a museum that was connected to a food, eating policy. And the lady was very interesting. She had started out baking bread because she couldn't find healthy bread in the store. Now you can find 8,000 kinds of healthy bread in the store, but 50 years ago she couldn't. So she started out baking bread and having a bakery and doing it from a very conscious perspective. And eventually she expanded and had a restaurant. And eventually she started to have this museum, which is a traveling museum about the vegan lifestyle. And after her talk was all over, I mean, there was a pretty good crowd there, and it was really interesting. After her talk was all over, she asked us what our experience was then. And, you know, if you asked me to talk, I'm going to. So I raised my hand, and she called on me, and I said, well, I was a vegetarian for about 7 years in the 90s. And then I got a really bad case of colitis. And the doctor said, well, you're not getting enough protein. You're going to have to eat chicken and fish. And I said, well, if I eat chicken and fish, I might as well eat everything. And I went back to being an omnivore. And then on January 21st of 1921, I woke up. I can't explain this, okay? This is just what happened. I woke up, I sat up in bed, and I said to my cat, who was the only one there, I can no longer eat things that can be afraid. And now I'm a vegetarian. And she was smiling and happy. And then I said, I eat eggs and cheese because they can't be afraid, but nothing that can be afraid. So then other people talked. And then when it was done, she snatched the microphone out of my hand and she said, it was like she hadn't heard anything anybody else had said. She said, 2 things. 1, the animals that provide the chicken, the cheese and the eggs can be afraid. And after they give the cheese and the eggs, they die. They're killed. And I went, she said, you might just consider that. And she put the microphone and I went, And later on, somebody else who had been in that session came and apologized for the way she stumped on me. And 2 things, and she never did say what the second thing was. 2 things happened that I thought were part of conscious evolution. One of them was this gentleman came up and he said, I'm really sorry that she stomped on you like that. And I said, well, here's the thing. And I'm telling you, this was a case of me opening my mouth and God talking. I said, here's the thing. For me, being a vegetarian, and I have to admit, I had never thought of what she said. And that is, you know, I am thinking about it. That could change. I might end up becoming a vegan. I don't know. But I said, that's a very important aspect of who I am. But it's not all of who I am.
Right.
And it is all of who she is. It's her entire identity. It's the only thing that matters in the world to her. And so, of course, she's going to be a little more intense than I am. And the guy said, well, I never thought of it from that perspective. Thank you. And he kind of wandered away and I went, how did that happen? And the other thing is I really have started thinking about possibly becoming a vegan as a conscious evolutionary decision. So now give us an example.
Well, the 2 things about that. First, a cow or a goat or whoever you're getting your milk from to make your cheese doesn't necessarily die right after they give milk. I mean, they can live a good long life. If they're stuck in a little stall all their life, then yeah, no, that's not a good thing. But if they're free range and everything, I mean, chickens can live a long life as free range chickens and not being stuck in pens. I mean, people grow chickens just for the eggs, not to whack the chicken after it's been after it's given them one egg. Oh, you gave me an egg. Time to get rid of you and eat you. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that makes me feel much better. Thank you. Because I've
You're
been
welcome.
really worrying about that.
No, you haven't.
Well, I've been thinking about it. I've been trying to wrap my head around it and wondering, does this fit into whatever it was that woke me up on January 1st of 2021 and said you can't eat things that are afraid anymore. But
I think we can go to excess in anything.
Well, that's true.
I've always believed in moderation, and I don't know. It's, I've drunk too much, but never for longer than one night in a week or 2 weeks, and that was when I was young and stupid. But I've never been what I would call an alcoholic, and I barely drink at all now. I am an omnivore. I like my bread, but the VA had me on Advil for a long time, and I never thought twice about it. And then I developed a peptic ulcer. So I moved away from, I stopped, I went online after I went to the emergency room for it. I came home and I went to Google and Googled peptic ulcer and Advil, and found out that I probably shouldn't have been doing that much Advil for the last 15 years. But the VA didn't seem to be concerned until even after I developed a peptic ulcer. I mean, it was just like the VA in Florida isn't as caring as some of the other VAs apparently, or their procedures. The things they have to follow, procedures they have to follow are a little bit less than sensical. So I just went online and I said, and I guess this would speak to conscious evolution. I consciously made the decision. I found out, Advil is going to kill you, and that's your cause of your peptic ulcer, the most probable cause of your peptic ulcer. So what do I do about it? I immediately cut out all carbs, all bread being mostly carbs anyways, rice, all that stuff within 30 days. And they wanted to put me on some drug. Anyways, it doesn't make any difference. And I found an alternative, honey and turmeric. So I started taking honey and turmeric, and I've never had a problem since then. In fact, in the first month, I lost 30 pounds.
Wow.
Just by cutting out the carbs and increasing my vegetables, mostly broccoli and a salad, and portioning, making my portions a little smaller. But that's all I changed.
So for you, conscious evolution is quite literally choosing how to change.
Oh, you got to.
Cool.
Nobody's going to. Anybody thinks they can tell you how to change. It's all up here. You've got to want it yourself. Until you want it yourself, you can't change. There's just too much that says, yeah, that's good. I really like that. And it makes me feel good. This makes me feel good. Whether it's alcohol or drugs or reading the Bible or eating sourdough bread, or ice cream.
Ice cream. I love ice cream. I don't buy it very often, but I do love ice cream.
Yeah. Neither do I.
Here's my next question.
Okay.
Supposing that every single detail of your life goes exactly the way you want it to go. Every encounter, every relationship, every experience, everything goes exactly the way you want it to go. What does Beyond Spirit Education and Jim Starke look like 10 years from now?
I would still be in a relationship. And I guess I would be understood a little better. Spirit education, I don't know. I guess for me, it's just offering people the tools that can help them change their lives. That's what I've always done. Back when I was a banker, I offered possibilities to women in banking who, back in the late 70s, didn't have much of a chance because it was a men's business, at least in Rhode Island. And I offered them possibilities, to advance themselves within the bank that we were working at. And it made it possible for them to advance in banking. They had the degrees, they were head tellers. They were even given the title of, oh gosh, what was it? They were given a title rather than becoming an assistant manager. They gave them a title of customer service representative. That way they didn't have to give them any more money. And I said, you got a degree. You have a college degree. There's absolutely no reason they shouldn't be able to do that. I said, here's a possibility. Maybe you should go to another bank, apply for their management training program. If you get accepted, come back and make the bank an offer. I'd like to stay here. If you'll have me, I'll stay. Otherwise, I have to move on to a new bank. And they were such good employees that they couldn't let them go. So they moved them into management training, and they became assistant managers, and both of them became managers ultimately.
Cool. I like it. Okay, so here's the next to the last question. Is there anything at all that you want to talk about, that you want us to know about, that I haven't asked you about?
No, I don't know. I can't think. If you had sent me a list of questions, I probably could have come up with something. But
okay, in that case, here's the last question. Will you come back?
You know I will.
All right. The first opening I have is July 23rd of next year. Can I pencil you in?
July 23rd. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So that gives you what? Almost a year, 9 months, 10 months to think of questions that you want me to ask. And then tell me what they are so I can ask them.
I'm not good at coming up with questions to ask me.
Well, then think about things you want to talk about. And
I told you I wanted to talk about love, and
we did.
We did.
Unless you've got something more to say about love, because that's not a topic you can, explore completely and forget about.
No, the only thing I can say about love is, without love, this world wouldn't exist. I mean, the whole world evolves through love. The individual love that the three types of love that we see: eros, filial love, and agape love. I mean, they all have a place in the world, and they all have a place in each of our lives. And they're all necessary for us to move into a more peaceful world and a more loving world.
Absolutely.
You just can't get away from it. I mean, if we just talk to each other, Just talk to each other. Just have a conversation with each other. Meet somebody on the street, and you just say, "Hi, how are you?" I mean, I remember the first time I walked through the big city, New York City, the Big Apple, excuse me. And I'm walking down the street. I'm going, "Hi, hi." And I'm just getting, it's like they were looking at me, either trying not to look at me or looking at me like, what does he want? Is he trying to grift me or something? It's like, wow, this world really needs a little bit of a few more smiles and a few more, "Hi, how are you?" A few more crazy people out there willing to put themselves out there. Just say hi. It's got nothing to do with wanting anything from anybody. I mean, I've never wanted anything. I've never asked for anything from anybody. My ministry might still be going if I had, but but it all unfolded the way it was supposed to unfold, because I love, since I left banking, which I really didn't love at all, which is why I left, because they were redlining, and I found out banks redlined, with this bank redlined, that it was my father's bank. He had retired. When I found out that they were redlining, and obviously had when he was there, I said, I can't be a part of this. And I had the offering to become a carpenter, which I had only done a little bit of carpentry in my own house on Prudence Island. When I had the opportunity to become a carpenter, I jumped at it. Didn't have one job lined up, but I jumped at it. And because I loved doing carpentry. And ever
You
since
do what
then,
makes your life sing. My father only gave me 3 good pieces of advice, and he gave them all to me the day before he died. He said,
wow.
if you don't vote, you don't have the right to bitch, and that's the right we need to protect above all others. So if you vote for somebody or against somebody, make sure you vote. He said, don't ever go to sleep angry. It's okay to go to bed angry, but don't go to sleep angry. It'll give you ulcers. And he said, if you ever wake up and say, oh, God, I don't want to go to that job, you have the wrong job. Go find something that makes your heart sing.
Yep.
So I hear that. That's perfect.
When I went from being a banker to being a carpenter, I would run downstairs at my house on Prudence Island, little tiny island in the middle of Narragansett Bay. And I'd run up to the front window looking out on the bay and just go, damn, this may not be the best thing that's ever happened, but it sure is a whole, now I can't remember how I said it. It's a lot closer to first place than anything I've ever done. This is just it was such a beautiful place to start being unemployed.
No, being self-employed.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's a whole nother thing.
That's what it is.
Thank you again for coming. It's always such a delight to have you here. I always enjoy listening to you talk. And folks, be sure you come back next week, because next week we're going to be live at the Anton Conference. And we have the Sofa Sundays ladies, Reverend Jeannie Severns and Michelle Davis, this practitioner Michelle Davis, with us. So we got a 2 for next week live at Unity Village. You don't want to miss it. In the meantime, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.